Have you ever watched the person you love become a complete stranger right before your eyes? The screen of her phone cast a pale, sick blue light on her face in the dark of our bedroom at 2 a.m. Her thumb was moving, a frantic little dance of taps and swipes. She was smiling a secret, satisfied little smile that wasn't for me. I'd seen that smile before, but it had been a long time, and it had always been directed at me. Now it was for a ghost in the machine. She looked over, her eyes cold and empty, and said the 5 words that broke everything: "You need to trust me more." That was the moment I knew my life. The one I'd carefully built for 10 years was already a pile of ash. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from, what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. For 10 years, Sarah was my world. We met in Chicago, 2 kids fresh out of college trying to make sense of the city and ourselves. Our life was built on shared dreams, whispered over cheap diner coffee, and late-night walks along the lakefront. I thought we were solid, a fortress. But fortresses fall. It started subtly. Once left carelessly on the kitchen counter, was now her constant companion, always screened down. She started working late, blaming new projects at the marketing firm she worked for downtown, in that glass tower on Wacker Drive. The excuses were plausible, but her eyes were hollow when she gave them. They didn't hold the familiar warmth. They held a guarded distance. Then came the receipts. A charge for $200 at a restaurant I'd never heard of, Gibson's Bar and Steakhouse on Rush Street. When I asked, she waved it off. "A client dinner, honey. You know how it is." But she hated steak. She grew colder, more manipulative. Every question I asked was twisted into an accusation against me. My concern became controlling. My hurt became insecurity. She was a master gaslighter, making me question my own sanity. "Why are you so paranoid lately, James?" she'd ask, her voice dripping with manufactured disappointment. "I feel like I can't even breathe." The villains, her, and whoever was on the other end of that phone, felt untouchable. They were living in a world I wasn't allowed to enter, and I was the fool paying the mortgage for the home she was using to betray me in. The emotional toll was crushing. One night I found myself parked in my car a block away from our house, unable to go inside. The thought of her in there, possibly texting him, smiling that secret smile, was a physical weight on my chest. I broke down, right there in the driver's seat of my Ford Explorer, the quiet sobs of a man whose world had just ended. That was the last tear I'd let myself shed for her. The grief was hardening into something else, something cold and sharp. It was time to stop being a victim and start being a hunter. The first step was proof. I wasn't a tech guy, but desperation is a powerful teacher. I installed a keylogger on our home computer and a recovery program on her old phone she'd left in a drawer. The harvest was sickeningly plentiful. Texts, emails, hotel confirmations. His name was Mark, a smug, wealthy portfolio manager she'd met at a conference. Their messages were a nauseating mix of cheap sentimentality and graphic details of their encounters. They mocked me. They called me predictable and boring. The worst part was reading her words. The way she belittled our life together, the life I thought she cherished. It was all a performance. With every word I read, the love I had for her died a little more, replaced by a cold, calculating rage. I saved everything, copied it to a secure, encrypted hard drive. This wasn't just about divorce anymore. This was about justice. My plan began to form a dark blueprint in my mind. I knew Illinois was a no-fault divorce state, but infidelity could still influence asset division, especially if marital funds were used to support the affair. I hired the best, most ruthless divorce attorney in Chicago, a shark named David Chin. I showed him the evidence. He looked at me over his glasses and said, "Mr. Henderson, we are going to dismantle her. We set the traps." I started moving my own money legally into protected accounts. I documented every single dollar she spent on the hotel rooms at the Langham, the expensive gifts, the dinners. It was all marital money, and she was burning through it. Socially, I played the part of the oblivious, loving husband. I suggested we host a big anniversary party, a 10-year celebration of our perfect marriage. I invited all our friends, our family, and even some of her senior colleagues from work. She loved the idea. The arrogance, the sheer audacity of it was breathtaking. She saw it as a victory lap. I saw it as the stage for her final act. The night of the party was perfect. Our backyard was filled with twinkling lights, soft music, and the laughter of people who thought they were celebrating a decade of love. Sarah was radiant, floating through the crowd in a new dress one I knew was bought with money meant for our future. She gave a toast, her voice full of fake emotion, talking about trust and partnership. She even looked at me, a loving smile plastered on her face, and said, "To James, my rock." The hypocrisy was so thick, I could taste it. I waited until everyone was gathered for cake. I stood up, champagne glass in hand, and smiled. "I also have a toast," I began. The projector I'd set up for a sentimental slideshow hummed to life. But it was NTR wedding photos that appeared on the giant screen against the back of our house. It was their text messages. The silence was absolute, broken only by a collective gasp. I watched Sarah's face. The color drained from it, her triumphant smile collapsing into a mask of pure horror. On the screen, for all our friends and family to see, were her words, her lies, her betrayal. "He's so boring, Mark. I can't wait to be with you." Then came the hotel receipts. The photos of them taken by a private investigator I'd hired walking into the Langham, hand in hand. Her father's face was a storm of fury. Her best friend looked like she was going to be sick. I didn't raise my voice, spoke in a calm, level tone. "I believe in trust, Sarah. I also believe in consequences." I let the images linger for a moment longer before turning off the projector. Mark wasn't there, of course. He was a coward, but his name and face were now burned into the memory of everyone present. Sarah stood frozen, utterly exposed. Her social world, the one she valued so much, had been incinerated in an instant. The next morning, her boss called to fire her. The scandal was too much for their brand. 2 days later, she was served with divorce papers. The evidence was so overwhelming that her lawyer told her to take the first deal we offered. She walked away with nothing but her clothes and the public shame that now clung to her like a shroud. I sold the house. I couldn't stand to be in the rooms where she had planned her deceit. I moved to a small, quiet apartment downtown, overlooking the river. Sometimes, late at night, I stand by the window and watch the city lights, thinking about the life I lost and the man I had to become to survive it. The rage is gone, replaced by a hollow quiet. She was destroyed, but I was changed forever. There's no victory in this kind of war, only survival. I learned that trust isn't a gift you give. It's a treasure you can have stolen when you're not looking. The end.